Hey guys, these are the top 10 best and worst things about the 2023 Isuzu MU-X, in my opinion. Specifically, we're looking at the top of the range LS-T model here. Let's get stuck in with the good things. I'm going to count it down this time. So starting with number 10, the design. You have to admit it is a very neat and proportionate design, but still distinctively Isuzu. While the Pajero Sport rival looks a bit wacky in my opinion, and then the Toyota Fortuner just looks a little bit bland, this sits somewhere in the middle between just nice, neat package, and I actually like the way these wheel arches bulge out slightly, giving it a sort of fat stance on the road. I also like the latest tinted tail lights. They look quite nice, especially up against this dark blue color. Obviously design is a subjective thing, everyone has an opinion, so it's up to you what you think of it, but yeah, I think it looks pretty neat. Up next, number 9, safety suite across the range. The latest model comes with all of Isuzu's latest safety gear, including forward vision cameras and sensors, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, rear cross traffic alert, and a rear view camera, of course. Now, most of this stuff is standard across all models these days, but it is good that Isuzu has applied it to all of its range. It doesn't matter if you're getting into the base model or the top model, so you don't have to spend up to get the best safety. Number 8, off-road performance. So Isuzu does offer very good off-road performance with its D-Max and the MU-X. I wouldn't say it's class leading, but it is very good. If you do go for the top of the range model though, you do get the 20-inch wheels with the lower profile tyres. They're highway terrain tyres too, so they're probably not the best for off-roading, but it does bring the overall ground clearance up. So this model's got 235 millimeters, I think. Yeah, 235 millimeters of ground clearance. So that's pretty good for its class. It also offers a quite good 30-degree approach angle, so that's that overhang there, the angle that goes from the tyre straight up to the bumper bar. So the bigger the angle, the better the approach, so you can approach big steep mounds and things and it won't scrape the front bumper bar, but 30 degrees is pretty good. There's a diff lock at the back as well to help you get out of sticky situations, as well as a clever rough terrain mode that responds really quickly. So it's like a fine-tuned traction control system. There's also a full-size spare wheel under there, which is very handy because if you're off-roading, the last thing you want to do is put a space-saver spare wheel on it when you're in the middle of the bush, or even worse off, you know, run flat tires or have a puncture repair kit. Number 7, wireless Apple CarPlay as standard. Now, wireless CarPlay is starting to become pretty normal for most cars these days, but it is good that Isuzu has finally stepped up. It doesn't offer wireless Android Auto though. I'll just start it up for you. So it's just a matter of connecting your phone, and then you've got Apple CarPlay there, as well as Android Auto wired, but yeah, you can have it wirelessly with Apple CarPlay. Number 6, one of the largest third rows in its class compared with its direct competitors. So that is the other body-on-frame heavy-duty SUV rivals. Let's check that out. At the moment the seats are folded down. It's just a matter of pulling these straps. You do have to stretch over a bit, but you do have infinite adjustment pretty much. So you can have it straight up and down, slightly reclined, or all the way reclined. So that is handy. And then to get in, you just pull this lever on the side of the seat here, and the whole seat will flip up. That is very handy in terms of being able to access the third row, but it does take up a lot of room. So if you've got, you know, goods sitting on the floor there, that's obviously going to squash them. Whereas some other cars, some other SUVs in this class have a sliding rail for the whole bench, and it slides forward and tilts forward a bit too. So that's also handy. I don't know, I think if I was buying one of these, I would prefer to have rails. So it slides forward first and then just tilts forward a bit, because that is pretty heavy as well, pretty bulky. But you can use the other single seat if it's too heavy for you. All right, try and get in. I've just got the tailgate open there, so we let's in a bit of light. once you fix up the headrest, I'm in. It seems pretty roomy. And to get the seat back up, I've got to pull the seat from the front. It's just a bit clunky, but as you can see, my knees aren't quite touching the front. I mean, touching the seat there. And I've got reasonable headroom actually. Actually, it's very good headroom. I can't see this being a problem for people that are shorter than me, or at least at my height. You've also got climate vents in the ceiling, which is a nice touch, especially in Australia in the hot summer months. You know, you don't want to be waiting for the aircon to come all the way from the back of the center console. You do have some amenities too, little cup holder and a sort of tray for your mobile phone. And you've also got a 12-volt socket down the back there too. So you could access that from the third row. It does offer excellent third row space. I think Isuzu has claimed at one point that it offers class-leading space back here. I'm not going to dispute that. I think it's very good, as you can see. I just don't know if it compares well with crossovers. So crossovers don't have chassis rails under the body. They might offer a little bit more leg room. It allows you to drop down a little bit, whereas my leg is probably a bit dark, but I've raised my knees a little bit, whereas some of the crossovers you might be able to drop your legs down a bit further to give you that little bit more clearance. What am I up to? Number 6, 10, 9, 8. Number 5, real world fuel economy. So the MU-X is rated at 8.3, and I've experienced pretty close to that in the real world, and that's pretty unusual. So here we see my average right now is 8.6. So I've been driving for about 200 kilometers and I'm very, very close to that official rating. That's not very common. Normally you're about 1 or even 2 litres, 3 litres if it's a performance car, off the official claim. That's mainly because the official test, it goes through a very specific cycle that includes stop-start traffic and so on. It's meant to be designed to be realistic, but in reality I just haven't experienced close figures. Some cars get really close. Suzuki springs to mind, and Honda as well. But having a big 7-seat SUV like this get that close from 8.3 to 8.6 is really good. Now, I'm not saying 8.6 is good fuel economy. I think it's pretty average for this style of car, for this amount of power that this engine produces. For example, I have a BMW X330D. It's a 3-litre engine, same as this, except it's got 6 cylinders. I haven't reset the computer. My wife drives it. I don't drive it much, but I haven't reset the computer since we bought it, and we've done about 90,000 kilometers, I think. And the trip computer says 7 litres per 100, and that's in the real world. And it's got a lot more power than this as well. So I don't think 8.6 is very good by modern standards, but this is a heavy-duty SUV. It's got a low-range gearbox. It's quite heavy as well. It's probably about 200 kilograms heavier than the X3, and it's in a different class. So I don't mean to put this down and against the X3. I'm just saying that 8.6 isn't all that impressive, although it is very close to the official rating. Number 4, accessories. So Isuzu offers a huge, might just turn the engine off actually. Isuzu offers a huge array of accessories that you can get for the MU-X and the D-Max, and they're all backed by factory warranty, including bull bars, snorkels, side steps, weather shields, headlight shields, the lot. You can pretty much kit the MU-X out to suit whatever you need it for, whether you're camping, doing a lot of towing, or fishing, or all sorts of outdoor activities. Isuzu has likely got some accessories to help you do that. Number 3, reliability. So this is going to be a hard one to prove, because usually car journalists, we review the car for over a week. Sometimes they're extended if they're a special report or something. But over a week, how am I going to prove to you that this is going to last a lifetime just after testing it for a week? But I have got written down here that Isuzu has won Roy Morgan Awards and other customer-based, survey-based feedback awards. These are where actual customers living with the cars are putting in their feedback on how the vehicle has, what it's been like to live with. So you can take those as pretty good indicators of reliability. Another good point though is that Isuzu evolves its parts. It doesn't really do anything revolutionary. It usually uses what works and evolves it, tunes it, perfects it. So the 3-litre turbo diesel engine, the 4JJ, has been around for quite a long time, but they've just constantly retuned it and evolved it, made it better, to the point where it pretty much shares no parts with the sort of first or earlier generations of this engine. It's also very durable, so Isuzus are known to be very durable. It's got stainless steel fasteners inside to keep the corrosion down. It's also got some pretty heavy duty bits under the body, thick protection plates for off-roading on all the range as well. And yeah, the fact that it doesn't come with anything too complex. So it's just a 6-speed automatic, which I'll get to in the other section in a minute. But yeah, nothing is too complex, which is kind of what you want if you want absolute reliability and durability. Which brings me on to number 2 actually, warranty. So Isuzu offers a 6-year warranty with its vehicles in Australia, or 150,000 kilometers, which is pretty much at the front of its class in terms of this model. If you can compare it to a Kia Sorento, that has a 7-year warranty, but it's not a heavy-duty SUV body-on-frame style of vehicle like this one. So you could say it's class-leading warranty, but in any case, 6 years and 150,000 kilometers is somewhat of an indicator of its trust in how reliable its parts are going to be. And then number 1, the best aspect of the MU-X is, of course, towing. Towing enthusiasts love the Isuzu D-Max and the MU-X. I'm going to quickly try and explain why I think that is. Because of the 3-litre engine. So a lot of the competitors, Toyota offers a 2.8, Mitsubishi's a 2.4, I think. I've got to know my specs a bit better, but yeah, they're all quite small. The Navara 2.3, whereas 3-litre is pretty big capacity these days. Ford did have the 3.25 cylinder, but with 4 cylinders, you've got to think about the compression. So each of those cylinders is quite large. So each of those cylinders is going to have a good compression, which is great for engine braking. So if you're coming down a big hill with a heavy trailer on the back, you know, you can use the engine braking rather than rely on the conventional brakes. The latest model is also rated to 3.5 tons, but as I pointed out in the Toyota Land Cruiser Top 10, you do have to look at the gross combination mass. But even still, I think the Isuzu does come up quite well in that compared with the other body-on-frame style SUVs like this. Okay, we've heard all of the good aspects of the MU-X. Here are the bad points, in my opinion, of course. I'm going to count these down too. Number 10, it's a bit boring. I don't mean that in terms of the specifications, but also the lineup in general. This being the top of the line model, it doesn't really, differentiate itself from the rest of the range all that much, apart from the 20-inch wheels. It'd just be nice if Isuzu offered something with a bit more pizzazz. Such as Ford offers the Everest Sport. I know it's just a set of black wheels and so on, but even if Isuzu did that, I think it would just claw in a few more buyers, potentially some younger generation buyers too. Number 9, powertrain falling behind. The 3-litre turbo diesel 4JJ has been around for a long time. As I mentioned, Isuzu evolved its parts rather than creates all new ones. Having said that, the latest version of this engine does feature a lot of brand new parts compared with the sort of pre-facelifted model in 2021, I think it was. It brought in a bit more power and a bit more torque. Refinement is also better, it's a bit quieter, so I verified that with the old channel with the decibel gauge, and it is actually quieter in terms of idle and acceleration from 60 to 110. So it is more refined than before, but even so, with 140 kilowatts and 450 newton meters, that is starting to fall down in the segment. The latest Toyota Fortuner offers 150 kilowatts and 500 newton meters, and even we saw the new Mitsubishi Triton, that's moved up to 150 kilowatts as well. So that means the Pajero Sport equivalent will probably feature the same engine. However, I have timed these across the 0 to 100 sprint. The base model did 9.8 something seconds, so 9.8 is really good, even though that is a negative in terms of having the figures, the power figures down compared with the others. The performance is still at the same level, so you can kind of see why Isuzu hasn't boosted it up even further. the 6-speed auto is also pretty old as well. Does it need 7 or 8 gears? Again, with towing, the 6-speed, you'll feel the difference with each gear that you knock down, because it's a bigger step, so you'll actually have good engine braking. Compared with the Ford Everest, the 10-speed, you can click down 2 or even 3 gears, and then it starts to provide that engine braking. So a 6-speed could be good for that. Number 8, a noisy engine. As I mentioned, Isuzu did improve the refinement of this engine a couple of years ago, and it is quieter than before, but even still, it's still, yeah, it's got that clattery sort of noise to it. It is a big capacity engine, and I think that's what contributes here. So each piston is very large. It's going to produce a big bang, and it's going to make some noise. Number 7, a bit cheap inside. As I mentioned, this is the top line model, and it just doesn't really scream out that it is a luxury or top line model. It does have the contrast stitching along the top of the dash there for the sort of fake leather, and it is a kind of soft material, but it is very monotone in here, and some of these plastics are pretty scratchy. It does feature that sort of elephant skin style plastic too. Number 6, lacks technology. Being a top-line model, it should come with wireless phone charging, but it doesn't. And it should come with a surround view camera, but it doesn't. And just some of the other things, like even the power window switches here, it's got an auto just for the driver. That's literally just a little switch mechanism. Why not just put all of them as auto? I don't understand that. Why just the driver? It's not anything bonus luxury having an auto. You just push it once and the whole window goes down. Why is that classed as something that's superior? Number 5, no sliding middle row. So as I mentioned before, the middle row doesn't actually slide forward, it just flips up. That means you can't prioritize space for the third row or the middle row. So if there's no one in the back, you could slide the whole bench forward and have even more legroom. Not that legroom is an issue in the back here. It does feature twin USB ports in the back here, which is pretty modern, just going on the back of the point that I made before about lacking technology. Number 4, long wait time. So I've spoken to a few connections, and the waiting list or the waiting time, if you order one of these today, you're going to be waiting about 8 to 12 months. They say that especially if you get the top line model, so the LS-T, you're going to be waiting the longest for compared with the base model. But Isuzu isn't alone. A lot of vehicles in the industry at the moment, you're going to be waiting a long time before you receive your order. Number 3, I'll just get back in the car because it's starting to rain. No full-time all-wheel drive mode. It does come with 4H and 4L, as well as 2H as the standard mode. 2H means it is rear-wheel drive, basically. Well, not basically, it is rear-wheel drive, so there's no connection to the front wheels at all. Putting it in 4H essentially locks the front and rear drive, and it's not a good idea to drive with 4H on the road because it needs some slip. It's okay on the mud or the dirt because you've got that slip. If any slip is needed, it'll just come out through the dirt or the grass with the tire on the grass. When you turn a corner, the inside wheels obviously travel less distance than the outside wheels, and that means there's different wheel speeds. So when you're turning with the front and rear with the front and rear locked, it's going to cause some driveline tension. The Ford Everest, at least the upper spec models, have a 4A mode that you can use on the road. So you have 4-wheel drive, as well as the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport. Its drive system allows you to drive with 4-wheel drive engaged on the road. Does it really matter? Well, if you drive to the snow or something like that, you might want to put it in a 4-wheel drive mode that can withstand driving on the roads, because it's safer. It just is. You've got better stability. Power going to all 4 wheels is always better than power going to just 2 wheels. Number 2, instrument cluster is fiddly. It certainly is. I'll try and set this camera up so you can see it easily. Essentially, those numbers are pretty small. The main bit that I don't like is this menu system along the top there. So you use these buttons on the steering wheel to toggle through the different menus. But watch how long you get before it disappears. So I've just clicked that, it disappears straight away. So if I go into the settings, which you've got to go all the way down to the end, and if you don't click go, it disappears straight away. I'll just do that again for you so you can see live. how long you get. So I want to go into the settings, fiddle, oh, missed it. Okay, so I've got to start again. And you can't do this while you're driving, by the way. You can only do this while you're stopped. Go back into the settings, quickly push the enter button, and then you can go through and change the different areas, such as the driving support systems. A few years ago, when Isuzu came out with the latest technology suite, it had lane keep assist that was quite sensitive, in my opinion, and you wanted to turn it off. Well, I wanted to turn it off every time I drove the car, but every time I started the car, you had to go in here, go through down to the lane support system, click OK, lane departure prevention, turn that off, go down here, off, and then you could turn it off. Fortunately, a couple of years ago, they brought in this button here. You just hold that down and it will turn that system off for you. You don't have to go into the menu. But overall, this, like even to get out of it, I've got to go down to end, click end again, and then you get back to the main menu, at the main display. It's just definitely very fiddly. And then the number one bad thing about this vehicle has got to be this touchscreen. It's pretty large, I'll give it that, but yeah, the graphics are fairly average. It's just mainly black and white. A lot of these menus are very just fiddly, and yeah, I just don't like it at all. It's compared with some of the modern SUVs that are out at the moment, that's at the bottom in terms of just modernness, graphics, usability. It's just right down there. Isuzu needs to update that with their next model for sure. So this is the main home menu, and you've just got, yeah, very basic setup there. You've got a phone wrapped in a rope by the looks of it, and then I guess that's the map, and then music, and that disappears as well. Just very basic in my opinion. It actually has this safety system as well, where if you're browsing radio stations for too long, it'll shut you out of being able to use the touchscreen, which I think is a bit over the top. There you have it, guys, the good and the bad of the Isuzu MU-X. This is a great SUV overall. I think it is one that should be on your shortlist if you're after a touring style SUV that can go off-road, that actually goes off-road properly, but it also offers great towing. Then yes, definitely the MU-X is something you should look at. Have I missed something? Is there something good that I've failed to mention? Please let me know in the comments section. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.